What's up, guys? So today I do want to preface this video by saying this is not a personal dig at John or Derek. I think they're doing really great as far as like hustling. My only thing is with this, I just want to educate those that are about to start a new Pokemon card business, whether it's doing vending or online sales, to decrease the amount of risk and exposure in having so much excessive inventory and not enough cash on hand or cash flow. In my opinion, I believe you should have more cash on hand for when we have these market downturns like we're in right now. You have less overall exposure, you have more money on hand and less effect on your overall inventory, and you have more buying opportunities with having that cash. But let's dig a little bit deeper. Let's get into the video and we'll talk.
All right, what's up, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about how to not run a Pokemon card business if you are just starting out. So today we're going to be talking about this page right here, traderjohns.tcg. You may have seen these two, John and Derek, on Instagram, and they are pretty successful, I think, on most social medias. I do come across their videos quite often, and I do, I like to look at some of their content and kind of get an idea of what they do and just what a vendor does day to day that has this much inventory. How they came into that inventory is where I come in and say that what they are doing is pretty risky, not even by a little bit, it is quite a lot, especially with things going the way they are as of right now. So I want to turn to this video that they put out. I think this was filmed in May or April, one of those two, but let's kind of look into the video and kind of see what I'm talking about, and then we'll kind of tie it into some of the more recent videos as well.
Turning 10K into 100 bands from selling Pokemon cards. Season finale. Let's go.
The moment of truth. Spend a couple hours counting every single card, single slab, seal, at GameStop, everything. The grand total that we're sitting at right now. Ready?
What is it?
Drum roll!
$110,650.
All right, so as you can kind of saw, as you saw on the table, there's plenty of cars, hundreds and hundreds of singles, right? And they are going and pretty much counting everything from the beginning. So they started off with 10K, but now it's over $110,000. Now, how they get to that was very interesting, and then when they show the spreadsheets, we'll get into that a little bit more. So let's go ahead and continue.
We did it.
How many months is that? 8 months.
August.
10 months? 9 months?
9 months.
10K a month.
10K a month.
Well, actually, technically more, but yeah, 10K a month.
Yes.
Show me the iPad.
Show you the iPad? All right, let's break everything down. Start on this side here. Estimated stream inventory. That's everything we picked up in Houston, along with what we already have sitting at home. $30,000 in stream inventory. This is our cash. $1,200 in PayPal. $1,400 in cash. 5.4K in the Zelle. Our debt. That's our credit card. We have almost $8,000.
All right. So this is just kind of going over some of the stuff that they have, breaking it down for what's for streaming, vending, as well as cash reserves, right? So looking at this as of right now, you kind of see that they have $30,000 in streaming inventory. So they have a lot. So they can kind of break it down: tag team lots, binder buyouts, collection box buyouts, and Derek's box. So this is just tugging the inventory on just streams, right? It's the cash part that is getting interesting, but let's keep going.
Our raw cards, this is stuff that goes in our display case, $25,800. For the slabs, we have $53,275. At PSA, we have $1,900 worth of cards in grading, and then that is our cash balance.
Look at their cash balance. Their cash balance on this is $188. That is insane. So pretty much what that is telling me is that they are way leveraged in inventory. Typically, when you run a business, you want to have some sort of cash flow, right? You want to make sure you have cash on hand for emergencies. If you're trying to get a new collection, right? Somebody walks up to your table and you have a nice collection comes up. You want to have cash for that, or even just to protect yourself from any kind of market downturns. Now, this was recorded in April and it was posted, it looks like, in May. So the market was a lot different at this time, right? In May, we were hitting the beginning of summer, and so prices were skyrocketing at the time. Things were actually really, really good. So this plan was working out really well for them since they started, because they said they started back in August. They pretty much had 9 straight months of almost pure vertical growth, right? We already know what the chart looks like at the end of December of this time last year. Everything just kind of skyrocketed up, right? So they've pretty much had 9 straight months of just pure gains, right? So it doesn't seem like anything would go wrong, except for now we're in a situation where pretty much since the end of October, maybe even a little bit before that, we've seen a huge downturn where you're looking at sometimes 20 to 30% decrease in overall value in single slabs. Not so much sealed, so it kind of depends on how much they have in sealed. So it all just kind of depends on how much they have wrapped up in sealed versus slabs and singles. But kind of looking at it here, it looks like they have quite a bit. I don't really see much of any sealed on here, especially because like there's raw totals, 25.8, slabs is almost 54,000, and the stream inventory being almost 30,000. And it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of sealed. Maybe those collection boxes right here is in there. I mean, it's hard to say for sure how much is in there, but $188 in cash is reckless because pretty much you're overexposed, right? So anything that changes in the market, whether good or really bad, it's going to reflect pretty quickly in your overall inventory value. So this is typically why people do, trades at a certain percentage, right, to kind of protect their margins from any kind of changes in the market. Well, this one pretty much tells me that they're overexposed. So I don't know if his inventory grew since then, if his margins or his cash flow is a little bit better. Who knows? But if you just do any like your typical trades at 80% and typical buys in cash for 70%, those are pretty much wiped out entirely. There's no room for margin anymore, right? Unless things kind of go back really, really fast or they change the way that they conduct their business, they're losing money pretty much at a high rate. And it's not a smart business move and it's not sustainable because when you're doing something like this, you should at least be having maybe saving 20 to 30% in cash just in case. Emergency expenses, collection buyouts, anything like that, as well as just like paying yourself, right? If you're not covering those if you're not covering those bases, then you're pretty much working for free and you're doing all this work you must really love what you're doing, right? Because working for free is pretty crazy. And then even working to lose money is even crazier. But even if you're doing like, let's just say live stream through like Whatnot, Drip Shop, or even eBay, they all take their fees, 13 to 15%. So you're even looking at living less margins there. So anywhere between 10 to 15%, right, left over in margins. And even then, if you're in a market downturn and you bought all these cards, or you're holding on to all these cards, and they're losing all this value again, you're fucking stuck. This doesn't make any sense. Why would you go about doing this? And it's good that, they people would tout in the comments like, hey, they're cool for being transparent. Oh, how'd you do that? That's awesome. They pretty much just spent their way to $100,000 in inventory. And I don't see how this is crazy. People that think this is like, is it all profit? Like this guy's asking, is it all profit? Dude, definitely not. So it's not profit at all. At least not yet. All this is unrealized. If they do have if they have unrealized gains, they should probably end up trying to get some of this back into actual cash because this is not how you want to do this. And so kind of not trying to dog on them at all. I mean, I appreciate the guy's hustle. I mean, he definitely works his ass off. Both of them do, and they seem to have a really good time doing it. So, I mean, I appreciate that. I mean, every video I see, like, they're always flying to a different city and breaking down all their costs and like working their asses off for a week, pretty much the entire weekend. And I think they do it almost every week. So I have no idea what their schedule looks like or how often they're doing this, but it is definitely a full-time gig. And I hope they're saving some money for themselves. And also, depending on what their taxes look like, it's another really big thing that needs to be looked out for. And so one thing that hopefully some people take away from this is that this isn't really a successful way of doing this, especially if you're just scaling, because you're not paying yourself. it kind of builds like false success that you're progressing. That you're this highly successful vendor, but you're not taking your profits, you're not having enough cash flow, and you're really just burning inventory and just buying out way more inventory. It just doesn't make sense. I don't see why you would want to do this, because sure enough, I mean, what happens if, God forbid, you get like cars get stolen? Hopefully they're insured, right? Or just some kind of accident happens, right? Just really much anything, just any emergency. As far as your cash goes, you don't have anything to pay for it, and everything's tied up into a liquid asset, because it takes a long time to sell all these things. So it's not going to be something that makes a lot of sense. So you're just pretty much cash poor the entire time. And the reason I bring this up too is because this pattern seems to have continued, because when we go into his other video, let's kind of go into one that I saw recently. Where is it? It's another one from just like, hey, how I did at this last show. I think it's this one. Oh no, it's a reel. So I think it is right here is the most recent one. Let's check it out.
Here's how much money I made in one weekend as a full-time Pokemon card reseller.
This is October 20th, so this is quite a bit ago at this point, so over 5-6 weeks ago, but this is literally like right before, either right before or it just started, or it already is starting to where the market was downturning.
This weekend, we were in Chicago for Collecticon. Not only was this my first time in Chicago, but it was hands down the best show we've ever been to. We set record sales and trade numbers this weekend, so let's get right into the breakdown. My round trip flight from California to Chicago cost $600. We spent another $650 on table fees and case rentals. 2 nights at our hotel came out to $400, and I spent another $120 on food. That brings our total expenses for the weekend to $1,770. Over the entire 2-day convention, 3 days if you include day 0, here's our total sales. We sold $8,854 worth of singles and $14,115 worth of slabs, bringing our total sales to $22,969.
So they definitely know how to move cards, right? They do get a lot of sales, and they're going to these giant conventions, so they're definitely very popular. And, they're obviously doing really good as far as social media presence, because people know who they are, where they are, and obviously they're doing really well for themselves as far as making these sales.
After subtracting our cost of goods sold, that leaves us with a profit of $4,594.
Not bad on a weekend, right? I mean, you profited almost $4,600. And then whether or not that's more for one person, more the other, it's hard to say, but I think these guys are going into the business pretty equally.
Once we also subtract our weekend expenses, our final take-home profit comes out to $2,824. Like I said earlier, this was by far the most trading we've ever done at a convention. In total, we did $31,550 worth of trades, which grew our inventory by another $5,553 in value. On top of that, we were able to spend another $25,000 on new inventory.
This is where I'm like, have they learned anything yet? Or hopefully they're making some adjustments, because we just saw what their profits were, right? It was like $4,600, right? Let's just say between 2 people. And so also their trades, they got another $5,500 in value, right? So let's just put like $4,600. And even though you typically don't calculate this part for profits because it's unrealized, you're going to put let's just say even $5,500, right? So in actual profits, realized gains, they made $4,600. Unrealized is $5,500, but you can't really count that when you're calculating sales and everything, because if it carries over to next year, it doesn't count towards you until you actually sell it. So let's just say they made $10,000, a little over $10,000 for this entire show. $4,600 only being the actual profits, but then they spent $25,000 on inventory. They pretty much went another $15,000 negative, right? Because they're spending way more than what they're selling. And I can tell that's still happening because that's how they pretty much got here, right? They got to that 10K to 100K by buying way more than they're selling and hopefully churning it. But if they're not selling at such a high volume where they have all these illiquid cards that just aren't selling, what are you going to do, right? And so even if like that $25,000, right? This is right before things took a turn. So let's just do worst case scenario. You lost 30% of that, $7,500. That pretty much is their margin if their new inventory is what they bought. If they bought all that new inventory at 70%, that's really bad. So now, what are they going to do? Are they going to fire sell all these cards? Like, are they going to hold on to them for the meantime? Like, what are they going to do? Because they're pretty much stuck with it. And I'm confused on how this is sustainable and how you're going to keep on doing these same kind of shows where you're just buying and just not selling enough.
To bring back home and sell either in California or online. Traveling across the country can definitely get expensive with all the added costs, but the buying and trading opportunities in new cities like this make it absolutely worth it.
Not really. I mean, you're losing money. You're not making money, which is what you're supposed to do when you're running a business and being a vendor. Yeah, it's grueling and it's time consuming, and also you have to sell and go through a lot of volume, but you have to kind of control yourselves on how much you're going to spend. You can't just keep doing this, right? So realistically, if you're going to have this much in inventory, you should have at least maybe 30 grand in cash. And so that way you just have a safety net. You should not be doing this. So I hope anybody that's watching this and anybody that's looking to start a Pokemon card business or even vending full time, please do not do this unless you're fucking loaded and you can just spend endless amounts of money on this stuff and have no fucks to give. Then by all means, you have fun and do that. But otherwise, if you're not and you're somebody that's just starting out, maybe you have a collection that's over like 20K and you have like maybe $2,000 in cash, scale it very slowly or sell a whole bunch of your collection, right? And then so that we have more cash at hand and you can buy more and then kind of go from there. But I would always keep overall value of the combine of your cash, of pretty much all your assets for the business, have at least 30% in cash reserves to cover yourselves. And also you want to pay yourself too, right? That ends up coming out of your profits too. So you should pay yourself. I mean, don't work for free. I mean, I get you're trying to scale, but just don't work for free. So that's it. I just wanted to kind of go through this video. And again, I appreciate these guys' hustle. And also, I'm not taking into account what their social media presence is, right? If they get some ad revenue from all their videos, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, I don't know where they're all on. If they're getting some revenue from that, then obviously that kind of plays a part too. So this is just from what I'm seeing, but at the same time, you should not do it this way. If you guys are starting out, please be careful, cover yourselves, cover your own ass, and take it slow. Don't try to rush into it because it's not a get rich quick. You literally gotta take your time. Anyways, that's it for me today, guys. I'll see you guys next time.